What's up, guys? Welcome to Off the Record with A&A. We're here today to give you a preview on the national championship for the college football playoffs. We got TCU versus Georgia tonight. It's going to be a good one. Massey, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So the biggest question mark for tonight's game is going to be Kendre Miller. That's a TCU starting running back, plays a huge role in his offense. I think as we saw in that TCU-Michigan game, he opened up a lot of things for TCU with that run game being able to work because he is a fast running back. He can make those big explosive plays. Today, 4 hours ago, it was reported that he's still questionable. I feel like that's probably not a great thing for TCU that he's still listed as that. That could be to surprise Georgia. Maybe he comes out and he'll be fine, but I think that's going to be a huge part of the game is whether he's able to play good or not.
Yeah, it really is. He's really a key player for their team, and he really helped them become undefeated before that Big 12 loss in the championship game. He was a really big help for their team. But also, their backup really stepped up last week. You know, he had that big run, like the 57-yarder, I think, something like that, 50-some-yarder for a touchdown. So he's solid back there. I mean, I think TCU, it's going to be hard if they don't have their star running back. But, the backup, he did well last week. So.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think, however, they do complement each other. I think it'll be big if both of them are in. Other than that fumble, he made up for the fumble because the next drive he had that huge one-play touchdown. That was crazy to watch. And I guess kind of recapping a little bit, man, that college football playoff, I think that's probably one of the best ones so far. Both the games were amazing. They came down to the wire. I think that you probably could say that the Georgia-Ohio State game was the better one because Ohio State was in control the whole time. C.J. Stroud looked amazing. He played really well. I think he probably threw 4 or 5 incompletions. I mean, he was out there just dotting them up. Great showing from Ohio State's offense. Felt like they were going to win. Georgia was playing from behind the whole time. And that fourth quarter, Stetson Bennett and that offense just got rolling. And unfortunate injury from Marvin Harrison. And then came down to that last field goal that was way off, man. This is a tough loss for Ohio State.
Yeah, losing. I really don't think Georgia should be here, Ohio State controlled the game the entire time. I know Georgia came back, and it was a one-point game with 3 minutes left. But, Ohio State drove down the field, and they had the chance to win it with the field goal. But it was just a terrible kick, and sucks for Ohio State. I think they should be facing TCU today, but, you got Georgia today, so still all well-deserved for Georgia, though. They came back. They fought hard in that game. They still deserve it, but just think Ohio State should be here instead of Georgia, in my opinion. But also,
yeah, I can see why you'd say that. I think Georgia's an incredible team, though, the fact that they were able to come back even with all the cards stacked against them. Now, in the TCU and Michigan game, I think that one was probably my personal favorite to watch. Because, I think the Big 12 versus Big 10 football, to say that the Big 12 is kind of weak, this and that. But the fact that TCU was able to just come out and, even J.J. McCarthy said he's they're lining up in that 3-4. We're going to do a lot of ground and pound. Well, he threw 2 pick sixes. The TCU defense played all right, and they showed up. They won the shootout. So incredible game from TCU last week. That was awesome.
That game was crazy, dude. You thought TCU was gonna run away with it. Michigan came back. TCU, another big play. Oh, they're running away with it again. Nope, Michigan's coming back. Came down the wire, but TCU had that clutch first down.
Oh yeah.
They went
a lot of big plays in that game, man. What about that 3rd and 8 where he threw it down to Johnston, and he broke one tackle and he ran all the way down the field for a touchdown. That play was crazy. You had a one
yards or something.
Yeah, you had a one play. You hand it off to your running back. The backup, he goes 70 yards down the field. There were some. I guess we have to address. There were some controversial plays. Obviously, the targeting call at the end. You saw that all over Twitter. Yeah. My personal opinion on that is it's a 4th and 20, and your lineman's throwing the ball forward. I feel like it's for the better of the game to just let it. You're not going to call that. Your lineman's literally throwing the ball forward. There's no way you're getting that on 4th and 20. You have to let the players decide the game. And something like targeting is so it just there's like no consistency on it at all. So I do like the no call there. What'd you think about the Ronnie Bell when they ruled him down at the half-yard line, and then the next play Michigan fumbled? That was kind of crazy.
That was crazy. People were saying it was rigged or the refs did terrible, but no. He, yeah, his butt hit down like on the goal line, but the ball was behind the goal line. It was still in the field of play, so it was a good call. Watching it from real time, I was like, oh wow, kid, wow, that's definitely a touchdown. But when you go look at it in replay in slow motion, you're like, oh no, he's down the half yard line. It's a good call, and the refs call it right because the next play he fumbled, like anything can happen. It's a big
Yeah,
game.
I do think that's one of those calls that could go either way. And those Michigan fans that cried on Twitter after, you're at the 1 yard line. Like that's on you if you can't punch it in against that weak defense that TCU is supposed to have, and you guys were going to just ground and pound them, and you're at the 1 yard line. You got this place to score and you fumble. So ultimately, I think TCU won the game. I think that they were the better team, and that Michigan they shot. I think this off season that there's already rumors that their coach is leaving. I think it's kind of crazy, but
hey, but they got Cornum back next year, so he's officially
back. Is JJ McCarthy the guy though? What do you think about him at quarterback for them next year?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they do. If they had Blake Cornum in this game, I do think they would have won just because they would have had an extra weapon, but also J.J. McCarthy lost him the game, so it'll be interesting. I think he'll be the guy next year, but
2 pick sixes.
Yeah, 2 pick sixes. He lost in the game, in my opinion, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. I think he's still going to be the guy next year, just because he played pretty well, solid football. He won him games, so. But I don't know. It just came down to championship football, and he didn't perform. So.
Somewhere in Iowa City, Caden McNamara was watching the game laughing at J.J. McCarthy's performance because I think on the second pick six, it was awful, man. He threw it like I think the receiver was probably like 7 yards behind him, but he threw it right to like the defensive end, and he ran it all the way back. That one was kind of crazy. A lot of tension, a lot of like adrenaline watching that game. But man, TCU, they showed up. They're in the national championship. One thing I want to talk about, let's key in on the spread. So Vegas thinks Georgia's just going to kind of run away with this thing. It's a 12-point spread, plus 12 for the Georgia Bulldogs. What do you think on that? Do you think that's fair to TCU?
Plus 13.5 spread right there.
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah, you could say Georgia's – a lot of people are picking Georgia to win, but I don't see it being a 2-touchdown game. I just can't see it be 2-touchdown game. I just can't see Georgia winning by 2 touchdowns.
It's anything can happen. But my thing, that's just disrespectful to TCU because here they are. They weren't even ranked to start the year, and everyone – I guess they're used to this by now, but every game, everyone was saying they're going to lose to Michigan. People were going to say, oh, they're going to drop a Big 12 game before they get to that Big 12 championship, and they're not going to be able to make it. The whole year, everyone was betting on them to lose. And I think this is just another example of Vegas is saying they don't have a chance. And I think a lot of people are going to win some money on that money line tonight because I do think TCU covers. Yeah. I think it's going to be a shootout. There's going to be a lot of points scored. The biggest question mark, I think, is TCU's defense does have some holes I think Georgia's going to exploit. So I do think, I guess now we're switching over. I'll just say I think that Georgia is going to win the game, but I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a shootout, and they're not going to run away with it. I think TCU covers the spread. However, I think Georgia does win the national championship tonight.
I'm going to be honest here. I'm going to give you my opinion. I would want to see TCU win. It would be huge for their program being unranked. Tony Dykes, coming into the program first year, bringing their
coach of the year.
Yeah, coach of the year, bringing their team from 5-7 last year to now playing for the national championship. What an amazing job he's done. You just want to root for TCU, especially Max Duggan. Wasn't even the starter to begin, had heart surgery before the season. All that stuff he's been through. You just feel for TCU, and you kind of want them to win, just for all where they started to where they are now. it's just an amazing story for them, and I want them to win. Do I think they're gonna win? I really think they got a shot, but I don't know. Kirby Smart in Georgia, they just got a really big recruiting class. I was looking more into the game today and just stuff on it. I think it's gonna be really close. I think Georgia takes it by like 3 or 4, but it's going to be a shootout, and I do think we'll get the over, though, on 62 total points. That's really low. 62?
I agree with that. I think it's the over on points. I'm going to go with I'll go with Georgia by 7 or 10, though. I think they win, but I don't think they'll cover that 13.5. Now, here's another good question. The Heisman race, right? I don't think Stetson Bennett, he didn't have anything in it. He was there because Georgia's a great team. Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
But Max Duggan.
Yeah, I agree. Max Duggan should have probably won that over Caleb Williams. But, Caleb Williams had an incredible season, put up stats, those rushing stats, the rushing TDs. You could say Max Duggan had the same thing with all the rushing yards he had and the rushing TDs. But, it's just, it's just crazy, Comes down to a couple votes, and, Caleb Williams took it. I mean, well-deserved, but I also do think Max Duggan possibly should have won it, in my opinion, as well. But also, going back to Stetson Bennett for the Heisman, in my opinion, I don't think Stetson Bennett should have been in that top 4. There's no way.
No way.
You have Hendon Hooker from Tennessee and Blake Cornum, the running back from Michigan. They should have been over. Even I know they got injured, but even getting injured, they still should have been over in the Heisman talk than Stetson Bennett. I mean, yeah, he's taken 14-0 Georgia to the national championship, so put him in the Heisman conversation. But his stats weren't amazing to what the other quarterbacks are doing. And I think if Tennessee's Hendon Hooker doesn't get injured, they have a shot at going to the college football playoff. Blake Cornum, if he doesn't get injured, Michigan maybe beats TCU. You never know. The game could have swayed a different way if they have Blake Cornum. You never know.
Yeah, so Stetson Bennett, I think he's a good college quarterback, but I mean, if he's on another team, is he carrying them to the championship? I'm gonna have to go with the big fat no there. I think Georgia's got a lot of talent. I mean, they have 3 NFL tight ends, a good offensive line. They've got weapons in the wide receiver room as well. They've got good running backs. Their defense is incredible. I think that he's done a good job there, but it's just the perfect situation for him. Now, going back to Caleb Williams and Max Duggan, I do think Caleb Williams is probably the most talented quarterback in college football. I think he probably has the brightest future in the NFL. But, I mean, if we're just talking I guess a good question I would have is, what was Caleb Williams' Heisman moment? I mean, was it coming back and beating Oregon State? Was it losing to Utah twice? Was it, what was it? Was it just beating UCLA? I mean, Max Duggan in multiple games, they're losing, right? Games people the whole year were saying, TCU's going to drop one. They're going to drop one. He's coming back in the clutch. I mean, remember that Baylor game? How crazy was that? They get the touchdown and they come back, go down the field, get that game-winning field goal. And, man, even the game they lost against K-State in the Big 12 championship, that thing came down to the wire, and Max Duggan left it all on the field, man. He had that one drive where he ran the ball 6 times, and he just got them a touchdown. He has heart.
He carried TCU to tie the game, just to tie the game, to go to overtime. It was all him in the drive. He ran they drove 75 yards, and he ran for 60-something yards in that drive. He scored the touchdown. You could see him dying because he was so out of breath because he was just carrying his team on his back. I thought that was his Heisman moment when he did that he did that 40-yard run to get in goal to go situation. I was like, oh yeah, this Heisman moment right there.
Yeah, I think that I want to say, I don't know if you can say he should have won it, but I definitely think it was closer than a lot of people acknowledged. A lot of people actually voted before the Pac-12 championship game was even played.
Yeah.
Which if you watch that second half for USC, man, it was awful. Their defense was even worse. They couldn't tackle anyone. But I don't think that Caleb Williams deserved it this year. Great quarterback. I think he has a bright future in the NFL, but it kind of would have been nice to see Max Duggan win that this year.
I totally agree. But also, I want to go back to that. the Heisman, still talk about the Heisman a little bit. People also argue like, oh yeah, Max Duggan carried them to overtime, but they didn't win the game. Yeah, but in my opinion, that's the one flaw I had of Dykes the whole year. Why are you're third and goal on the 1 yard line? Yeah, it's okay. Oh, all right. I was expecting a quarterback run, like sneak or whatever, touchdown, Max Duggan, because he's been carrying the team. Like he's great running. They hand it off, third and goal on the 1, don't get it. I'm like, all right, now they've got to give the ball to Max Duggan, let him get in the end zone. Hand it off, they don't get it. They lose the game because of that. Now, I don't blame Max Duggan. I think that was just the coaching and the calls. So I wouldn't say he lost the Heisman because they didn't win the game. It wasn't his fault they lost the game, in my opinion. He did everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of easy in hindsight to say that. I do think that giving the ball to Kendre Miller at the 1 yard line isn't that bad of a play either. Yeah. I think K-State just showed up. I think that TCU, like they played so many close games. It's not a big deal at all that they just came up a little short in the Big 12 championship. They'd already punched their ticket. Yeah. I mean, they played a K-State team that showed out that game. That game came down to the wire. I think that it was a battle. I think a quarterback sneak probably would have been good, but I mean, I think that, Sonny Dykes has done a really good job because last year they were like 500 and they're in the national championship now. Not even
they didn't make a bowl game last year.
Yeah, not even ranked to start the year.
Yep.
And they're in the national championship. I mean, how many times has that happened?
All right, so I want to talk a bit more about the game, just preview. If TCU wants to win this game, they're going to have to put drives together tonight. They're going to have to put some long, hard, like 5 to 7 minute drives tonight because, I don't see Georgia giving up big plays like Michigan did. I just can't see it. Their defense is amazing, Georgia. Like, I just can't see Georgia giving up 2-3 big plays. Like, I'm going to think TCU's going to have to grind out the game. They're going to have to get some drives. It's going to be a grind for them if they want to win this game.
They're going to have to establish their run game. So I think they're going to have to get those two running backs going. Max Duggan, they're going to have to do some he's going to leave it out there. He's going to have to run for there's going to be some, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Like there's going to be some plays where he's just going to have to put his head down and run for it. Johnston and all those, they have fast receivers as well, man. I do think there are going to be some big plays for TCU where someone gets open down the field. But if you're TCU, this is a game where you can't make mistakes. You got to play really good, like just as good as your offense was in Michigan. You got to show up. I think that I think that Georgia's defense will probably give them a hard time at the beginning of the game. So I could see TCU having a slow start, but I think they'll settle into it.
Yeah, I can see that too. Well, look at these articles right here. Concerns for Georgia, 5 reasons Georgia could be in trouble. I think these are just like some articles on like just giving TCU the benefit of the doubt just because Georgia, they're the favorites and, they could be going back-to-back tonight. We haven't seen that since Alabama's Nick Saban, 2011, 2012. Back-to-back really doesn't happen, We've had teams in the last, 6 years trying to go back-to-back, and they failed. So we'll see if Georgia can be that first one in over 10 years to go back-to-back.
Man, I think we got to give Kirby some props because, I don't think you can say Alabama's fallen off yet. The 2-loss season, that's not good for them. But I think next year they could just jump right back in it. But as of right now, Kirby Smart's kind of made Georgia the new Bama. Their defense is the best in the nation. They have a good shot of going back to back tonight. They're controlling the SEC. Things are lining up for Georgia, and this was a program that hadn't won since 1980. So they had a 40-year drought of just no championships. They were a good team. But they never won the biggest game they needed to. And Kirby Smart comes in and they have the best defense. They have a lot of weapons on offense too. And man, they have a good shot of going back to back tonight. That'd be incredible on his part.
He's done well in the recruiting process the last few years, to get to this point. He comes in Georgia's a really good program like they were really good before, but he comes into a Georgia team that, they'd get to a decent bowl game, but they really weren't fighting for any SEC championships or any national championships. Like, they were ranked most years, but bottom 25, they were lower ranked team. So, just to bring them up, they had the years where they were in the SEC championship, struggled, couldn't beat Bama. They played that natty game against Bama. They had the lead, and then they lost in overtime a couple years ago. But just to see them win last year against Bama in the SEC and the national championship was just amazing.
Yeah, no kidding. And even it's some. Even so, like Bama's had their number, and before the last 2 or 3 years, and even before that, Florida, with Urban Meyer, Tim Tebow, those teams, they beat Georgia. Tennessee before that. Yep. So if you're an older Georgia fan, this is nice to see that you finally got the right guy and the right program to where you're the top dog now.
That's our take on the game tonight. I hope you guys enjoy the game, and I hope you guys are going to be watching the game as well. We'll be back tomorrow for our first official episode. We'll be recapping the College Football Playoff National Championship tomorrow, and we'll give our thoughts on the game. And then we'll also dive into college basketball top 25, some big changes there, some teams moving up. We're about the halfway point, and then we'll end it off tomorrow with talking about the NFL playoffs.
Thanks for listening, guys. Enjoy the game tonight.